we're going to use to make sure that all activities are controlled, monitored, and being done correctly. Okay, so start now. Can you see the slides? Okay. Ana na. So delay-delay lang siya gamay. Alright, so project human resource management. So it includes the processes in organizing, managing, and leading the team. So how are you going to organize, how you're going to manage and lead your project team. So if ever you are the project manager, so this would be your guide. Or if you are the member, then this should also help you understand, okay, your role in the project team. So among all the five management process groups, so a project human resource management only involves two processes. So that's the planning and then executing. So in planning, so we plan the human resource management. So which members ang dapat nga naa sa atong team so that we can materialize the or we can do the deliverable. So of course, different projects requires different competencies. Okay, it also requires experience. Okay, so that's why this need to plan well which team should be or which member should be part of this project. Okay, so to increase the success of delivering the expected niya output. And then after planning aside from that, so looking for people, we need also to plan kung usaon nato pag uh, what compensation or what rewards and what reward system are we going to do or unsaon nato pag manage ang time nila. Okay, so aside from the project, they're also possibly they're also doing other jobs in execution. So you have acquiring the project team. So of course it's through the human resource management, develop the project team. So if there's a need to train them, okay, to acquire a specific skill or specific competency. And then lastly is to manage the project team. So part of managing the project team is the um, managing conflicts between the team members. So project team is composed of people with assigned roles and responsibilities for completing the project. So okay, I think it's very clear, diba? So they have assigned roles and responsibilities in completing the project. Okay, so next, so planning human resource. In planning the human resource management, so it is the process of identifying and documenting project roles, responsibilities, required skills, and reporting relationships. So, and also creating your staffing management plan. So aside sa pag-identify, pag-give of roles and responsibilities, so how are they going to report? Okay? What is their accountability and what is their responsibility in the project? So next, you have the human resource plan. So this is the document. So this is the output of the planning. So the document project, so it documents project roles and responsibilities, the organization charts, and the staffing management. So it also the timetable for the staff acquisition and release. And it also includes the following. So identification of the training needs, what are the strategies in the team building, plans for recognition and the rewards, compliance considerations. So is there any NABAY requirement ng mga qualification, safety issues, and the potential impact of staff acquisition and release on the organization. So not all projects are projectized, or meaning nga your team members might also be from another department, okay, or another office. So you need to consider the time nga iyang i-allocate sa imo sa project or ang time nga i-allocate niya sa iyang usual na work. So in documenting the roles and responsibilities, so we use the responsibility assignment matrix. So the responsibility assignment matrix uses a matrix format to illustrate the connections between the scope of the project and the project team. So, so aside, diba, we are already done with the work breakdown structure. The next step is to assign people who will do all those work, okay, or all those work packages. So the RAMs can be developed at various levels, so they can define what project team member or group is responsible for each work. So there's a difference between responsibility and accountability. So when you say responsibility, so they are the ones doing the work, while accountability, sila ang manubag if if the work is unsuccessful or not. Okay, so they can be used to designate roles, responsibilities, and levels of authority for specific activities. So within a work package. So dire mas klaro sa mga empleyado o sa mga sa team members kung unsay buhaton nila. Okay, so unsay expected nga output from them. Okay, so at dili sila ma-confuse kung unsay kuan nila. What is their role and responsibility in the project? So here is a sample responsibility assignment matrix, or we call it the RASI matrix. So R stands for responsible, A accountable, C consult, I inform. So again, when we say responsible, these are the persons who are required to do the said activity or the said work package. So sila ang muhimuan ng mga project. Accountable is siya ang manubag if mo successful na siya nga activity or not. So for example, si Ben is responsible in the creation of the creation of the project charter, but si Ann ang accountable. Okay? So accountable si Ann. So if Ben is would be not successful, si A ang kasabaan sa top management, dili si Ben. Of course si Ben, si Ann na ang mga saba sa iya. Okay. Next is si C consult. So consulting means of course mga kag advice, mga ka og tips on how to do your job. Okay, so perhaps they have more experience than you, so or perhaps previously sila ang responsible ana nga project. So perhaps you can ask for some tips or consultations with these people. Okay, so that's for consult. And then lastly is I for inform. So we just need to inform the we just need to inform them that the progress and the output or the if the project or activity is being done or it's already done. Okay, so for example, so you have create charters, so si Ann ang accountable, si Ben ang responsible for creating the chart. You will only inform si Carlos and Dina and also si Ed. In the collect requirements, si Carlos ang responsible, si Ben ang accountable, and then si Carlos will consult to Dina and Ed, and then si Ann would be informed. Okay, so next is the after the planning. So we are done with the planning stage. Now we go to the execution of the uh, human resource plan. Okay, so ADM stands for acquire, develop, and manage the project team. So acquiring the project team is the process of confirming the human resource availability and obtaining the team necessary to complete project assignments. So pwedeng naana mismo sa organization or perhaps you will outsource them, okay, or you will hire them. So it depends sa project. Second is developing the project team. So you is the process of improving the competencies, the team interaction, and overall team environment. Okay, so aside sa nanay required nga competencies, if the team really needs to improve their competencies, okay, so to acquire the new knowledge, the new skill, then there should be strategies on how are you going to acquire them. So what are the tools and techniques in developing a team? Okay, so of course, primary kuanana skill is that you should be good in the interpersonal skills. So there's training must be conducted. So aside from the training, so there should also be mga team building activities. So it's very important nga sa isa ka project team, suod na or they know each other well so that they can um, increase their teamwork capability. Then the ground rules, so rules must be set so to guide the project team on how to behave or how to do their job. Number five is co-location. So, so actually, in this pandemic time, so the co-location is probably impossible or difficult for other teams. Okay, so that's why we have mga virtual meetings or virtual conferences. However, as much as possible, kung kaya mo nga naa mo sa isa ka place or isa ka area, then mas maayo. Okay, so that's what we call co-location. Then recognition and reward. So every now and then, so in every milestone of the project, you can reward somebody or perhaps pwede na siya nga for every milestone. So tapos importante kay na nga milestone. So perhaps pwede mo mag-celebrate. Okay? You can celebrate it outside or inside the company. So there are barriers to team building, however. So what are these barriers? So probably in your team you have different outlooks, priorities, and interests. Okay, so role conflicts will arise. So especially if dili klaro ang assignment of roles and responsibilities. The project objectives and outcomes are not clear. Okay? So, isa na siya sa maka-confuse sa mga team members. So, before they start the project, the objectives must be very, very clear. So, as not to confuse the team members. The fourth barrier is if there is a competition over the team leadership. So, whether we like it or not, competition is a human nature. So, it will always arise. Okay? Especially if uh, kana nga project perhaps will determine kung kinsay sunod niya mahimong leader or ma-promote. Okay? So the project manager must be aware of that. So instead of competition, so dapat i-promote ang cooperation. Okay? Or instead of competition, so there's what we call co-opetition. Okay? So it's combination of cooperation at the same time competing against each other. So of course, for the overall benefit of the project. Lack of team definition and structure, the credibility of the project leader. So you have the lack of team members commitment. So this can be addressed if the project manager will it's beyond the influence uh, it's within the influence of the project manager how to make your team members commit to the project. Then communications and problems could arise. And pinakadako gid nga barrier ana is if there is a lack of senior management support. So isa na sa maka demotivate sa mga team members. If they can sense that the senior management does not support their team or does not support the project. So si Bruce Tuckman so develop a model on the development of a group. So how yun sa dakono or unsa dakono stage sa development sa group. Okay, so the first so we call this model the Tuckman model. So at the start, so we have the formation. So ang stage ang mga team members pa ana is more on orientation and then they will test and depend on some group members. So inexperienced pa ang uban. So after some time, so it will develop into storming. So sa man storming, so it is characterized by conflict and polarization around interpersonal issues with concomitant emotional responding in the task sphere. So when storming, so dira na mo arise ng mga away-away, mga debate, mga conflict. Okay? So, but of course, dili lang personal. Related ra gyapon dapat sa project. So again, that's if you are the project manager, so it's your task to um, manage this conflict. Okay? So after some time again, so nahuman na ang forming, tapos nagkasinabot na, then that's what we call the norming. So the resistance is overcome, so kasabot na ang usag-usa sa batasan. Okay? So, di ba? So, the resistance is overcome, so they already understood each other. So, there is what we call in-group feeling. So, they are now moving as one. So, so they are now setting their differences and then work for the success of the project. So, their goal is one. So, muna siya nga, there is a in-group feeling and cohesiveness developed. So, of course, after the norming, you have the performing. So, that's the fourth stage. So, muna itong ganahan niya stage. When the interpersonal structure becomes the tool of task activities. So, so kumbaga, kuha na kayo sila ka na um, less na kayo ang communication. So, less na kayo ang verbal communication. So, dahil na kayo sila magkasinabot. So, even if na isa nga absent, okay, so they already know what to do so that the project will not um, sa tawag gani, dili siya ma-disrupt or ma-continue ra gyapon ang paghimo sa project. And then, of course, the fifth stage is the adjourning or the mourning. So it is the dissolution of the team. So after the project is done, so usually it happens sa mga artists, di ba? So if they have a project na mga teleserye, especially if it will take years, say 2 years, 4 years, so ang pinakalisod ana is ang pag-adjust. Okay, so that's why it's called mourning because they will feel sad. So they will feel sad nga di na sila mag-uban sa isa ka project. So that's the adjourning or um, the end of the team. Okay? So you have forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. So recognition and rewards. So you can take a cue from these following motivational theories. So I bet familiar na mo ni Abraham Maslow. Okay, so he developed the hierarchy of needs. So the first level is physiological or mga basic needs na to, like food and shelter. Security is, of course, okay, so safetyness within the environment, in the environment. Social is belongingness. Then you have the self-esteem, and lastly, the self-actualization. So based on this theory, you can actually craft a recognition and reward based on these needs. So as a physiological, pwede pagkaon, so self-esteem, so recognition. Okay, so next is the theory of X versus Y, so by MacGregor. So it is an experiment. So the X environment or X a working environment is disliked by the workers, but the Y environment, the workers are active and satisfied. So mostly sa X environment, this the workers are mostly dictated. Okay? Gina-dictate sila, dili sila ginapangayo ang opinion. And then while in environment Y, so there's a participation or active participation by the workers. So it is found out that the Y environment are liked by the workers and they are satisfied in their job. Theory Z, or it is developed by the Auchi, so that's the third theory. So in continuation of theory X versus Y, so we have the theory Z. So according to Auchi, the success is not only due to the environment, but also due to the relationships of people, trust, and intimacy. So mo ni siya nga naatay mga team building activities to increase the closeness of the people, okay, in the environment. So if you are close enough, so it will develop trust and of course intimacy. So the project would be more successful if the composition of the team are close. Okay. Then last is the hygiene factors by Herzberg. So providing greater opportunities to succeed and improve the workplace. So according to Herzberg, the the live the success of the project will also depend on the how hygienic the environment or the how hygienic is the working environment. So parehas ra po na kung magtrabaho, di ba? It's very conducive to learning or it's very conducive to work if the working environment is very clean and very organized. Even sa pag-study, di ba? So we prefer studying in an environment where it is clean and organized. So last is the managing the project team. So it's actually the process of tracking the team member performance, providing the feedback, resolving issues and managing changes to optimize the project performance. So ang nagkatrabaho ani is the project manager. So the project manager should have the following general management skills and project management skills. So you have, as to the general management skills, so dapat naa kay inaani nga mga skills. So leading, communicating, negotiating, problem solving skills, influencing, political astuteness. So kani political astuteness dili ni pasabot niya kailangan kibalo ka sa politika sa gobyerno. So it's about the setup or the organizational culture. Okay, so muna pasabot sa political astuteness. And then lastly is financial management because of course part of managing the project is also managing the resources. Okay, so especially the budget. So as to the project management skills, so dapat naani nga mga skills sa isa ka project manager. So ability to plan or planning, you have organizing, staffing, monitoring, controlling, and reporting. Okay. So these are the skills needed, okay, for you to be an effective project manager. So what are the tools and techniques for the project manager to in managing their team? So you have a good observation and conversation. So there's a constant observation of your team members and conversation with them. So, di ba? 90% of the job of the project manager is communication. Okay, so you need to you need to be aware of that. So aside from the observation and conversation, so you have the project performance appraisals. So how are you going to measure the performance of the success of the project? Then conflict management, so it's very important skill. And then interpersonal, of course, interpersonal skills. So conflict management is the process by which a project manager uses appropriate managerial techniques to deal with the inevitable disagreements that develop among those working toward project accomplishments. So you have the two views of conflict. So again, so part na sa trabaho sa project manager nga kung ay mag-away-away, siya gyud dapat ang mo deal or mo manage ana nga conflict. Okay, so in the traditional view, so it is caused by troublemakers. It is always bad. It should be avoided and must be suppressed. However, in the current view, so ang stand karon is that conflict is necessary. Okay? Conflict dili na siya malikayan. So especially if the persons comes from different backgrounds, di ba? Different religious principles, different political principles. Okay, so laylay og mga beliefs in life. Okay, so in the current view, so conflict is inevitable. The conflict is often beneficial. Third is it is a natural result of change. So, di ba, according to Tuckman model, moagig tanan grupo, especially if they are already working for very long period of time, storming will always happen. Okay? So conflict would always arise. And then it should be managed, okay? And it can be managed. So what are the different approaches to conflict? So of course, depende sa circumstance, depende sa unsay kailangan niya kuan perhaps kung gamay na lang ang time, so we cannot afford to kuan we cannot afford to have a long process sa pag-managing sa conflict. So, these approaches, so walay best ani nila, it depends on the circumstance, it depends on the situation. Okay. So the first approach is confrontation. So you're trying to solve the problem. So the project manager acts as a judge. Okay, so siya ang magkuan kung kinsay tama sa ila or mali, or how are you going to, so you are going to talk to those parties nga naay conflict. Then you try to solve the problem. Compromising is looking for a win-win situation. So 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 actually it's actually the strategy being used by the government. Okay, so in dealing with a lot of okay, so mga situation sa gera. So of course we don't want to nga may tabo na siya, that's why there's a compromise. Okay, so we're trying to look for a win-win situation. So if it's a team member, so if they could really not agree, so there should be a win-win situation, or there should be a compromise. And then you have the smoothing or accommodating. So you remind your team members on their similarities than their differences. Okay? So you focus on those similarities than differences. So we call that smoothing. However, this does not solve the problem. Okay? However, siguro kay gamay na lang ang time. So you need them to work. Okay? And then forcing, so it's the opposite of compromising. So it's actually establishing a win-lose situation. So mag-away ra gyud sila dira, magdebate ra gyud sila until nga naay mo ma-force nga or naay mo daog sa argument. Okay? So one is the winner, so the other one will lose the argument. Okay? And then last is the avoiding or withdrawal. So retreating or avoiding the conflict. So you're ignoring the conflict. So again, walay ingon niya the best ani sa ila. The project manager can use any of the approach depende sa situation. So there are cases nga withdrawing or avoiding the conflict is is the need for that situation, okay, for that circumstance. So you have confronting, compromising, smoothing, forcing, and avoiding. Then you have the virtual team benefits. So as of now, diba, a lot of the organization are now into the virtual conference. Okay. So in the virtual conference, so there are also benefits. So first, it adds expertise not available at home location. Okay. So actually, in the accountancy program, we experienced this. So we added expertise. So there are teachers that are not residing in Butuan City. So trabaho sa Manila, trabaho sa Makati, and other places. So even outside the Philippines, so they can actually teach in FSUU. Okay, so it is now possible that even if you are outside of the location, you can now um, teach. So that's why the composition of faculty adds more expertise, okay, because of the virtual na pag-conduct sa meeting and doing the job. It provides for telecommuting and flexible hours. So no need to commute. Okay, so and the hours are flexible. Third is it incorporates mobility handicaps. So may mga kuan niya dili makaadto because of that, because of this. So now because of virtual meetings, so it is now lessened. Of course, it reduces the travel expenses, and the the online project databases allow for the virtual war rooms. So, sa pasabot aning war rooms. So, this is actually more time for a conversation, more time for debating, okay, and planning for the projects. Okay, so they are not anymore limited by the office hours, okay, or the koan. Okay, so it will result into more ideas in the conduct of the project. Okay, so so again, so we go back. So in the project human resource management, so it is composed of planning and execution. So in planning, we develop the human resource management plan. In developing the plan, so we can use the responsibility assignment matrix, okay, so to guide the team members. And then in the execution, so we have acquiring the project team, developing the project team. So in developing the project team, so we have trainings, the team building activities, okay, and so on. Managing the project team, so it is actually the responsibility of the project manager. So na yung mga approaches and techniques how to resolve a conflict. Okay, so that's it for now. So if you have questions, then use the group chat. Okay, so groupings, wala pa ko nakakuha o groupings. Probably kay I have more time next week so I can finalize the groups. Okay. But I'm planning kuan siguro alphabetical. Okay, so again that's part of the kuan. By the way, so in doing your projects or doing your outputs, okay, so bear in mind that I'm not only grading your output but also your journey. So your journey in doing that. So for example, ako na lang po i-appeal ang sa enterprise risk management. So if you are na ako'y mga activity nga team, that means nga we're going to consult your members. So dapat tagit may mga brainstorming session and meetings for you to be able to come up with those output. So kung dili mo magamit sa inyong kuan, di mo mag-brainstorm sa may pag-individual na lang. Diba? So what's the use? So take note that in the grading, so dili lang output ang akong ginakuan but also how you conduct your kuan or how you manage your team. Okay, so kung maghimo ka ng company background, so although there's a na research ana, but dapat na may additional nga mga kuan inputs aside from the internet. In conducting the SWOT and PESTEL analysis, dapat i-undergo na siya og brainstorming. Okay, so although naanay mga ready nga outputs sa internet, but I still want the output nga coming from your own ideas. Okay. Dili man pasabot nga somebody has done the PESTEL analysis for that company, mo na gyud na siya. Perhaps na amoy makita nga wala gisulat. Wala na capture sa ilang gitrabaho. So that's why necessary gyapon nga naay brainstorming session within your team. Okay, so yes, ang PPT, so may question ko from Jane. I-send mo ang PPT. Yes, I always send the PPT sa Neo. So since I have more time this weekend, so probably ako pong ikuan kung asa nga ako pong i-upload ang online class na to previously. So don't worry kung wala mo kaapas, so you can revisit this online class later. Okay? So if you have time next week to do your prelims, so pwede na siya, available na siya next week. So it's your option to take it or perhaps later na. So depende sa imo, basta I'm giving you already the option. Okay, so that after next week we can start with the midterm na mga topics. Okay, so I mean next week di ay. So again, wala tay klase next next Tuesday. Alright, so other questions? Okay, no more questions? Right, so okay, so I think that's it for today. So see you on Koan next week. Okay, for our Koan the second part of the project management. So by the way, kani atong ipang discuss is these are the necessary knowledge or competencies for you to conduct the project initiation and planning. Okay, so next step would be the next group would be the how to budget and schedule your projects. Okay, so doing the budgeting and scheduling of the project. Okay, so see you. So enjoy your university days. So, okay, so thank you for listening and participation.